This is a cool story about the acts of malicious compliance of my grandfather, who died a couple of weeks ago. Setting the scene, a week after graduating college, first in his family, Grandpa, a very gentle, non-confrontational kind of guy with a mischievous streak, gets drafted into the U.S. military for the Korean War. Act 1, during basic training, he forgets to wear his glasses to target practice. His sergeant refuses to let him leave until he's hit the target at least once. Grandpa is a decent hunter, but now he can't even see the target. They're out there for hours. Finally, the sergeant comes up and tells him he hit the target. Grandpa checks the target. The hole was made from the other side, obviously by the sergeant himself. Act 2, Grandpa and his friend are told to go to San Francisco and to take a boat to Tokyo from there. When they get to SF, they see a long line to get on the boat. Grandpa's never been to SF before. He convinces his friend to visit the city with him instead of standing in line all day. They have a great day, and come back to the port in the evening. The boat has already left. They get yelled at. A lot. Act 3, the U.S. military finds out Grandpa learned how to use a typewriter in college. Instead of sending him to fight, they let him stay in Tokyo as a secretary to a general. The general keeps sending him out to get things signed. It's hard to get people to listen to a non-officer, though. That's what Grandpa tells his boss when he complains about how nothing seems to get done. Next thing he knows, Grandpa's been promoted. Now he can order people to sign his forms. Act 4, Grandpa finds out that 1, U.S. soldiers in uniform ride Japanese public transport for free, and 2, if he donates blood, he gets the weekend off that week. He starts donating blood every single week, and travels all over Japan on the weekends. And that's how he met Grandma. Edit, thank you so much for the love and well wishes, everyone. Grandpa had a great life and died peacefully with lots of kids, grandkids and great-grandkids near. We miss him, but he lives on in his stories. About the blood, as several of you have pointed out, every week is a lot. It might have been plasma, or the army might not have known/cared, or I could be remembering wrong. I'll ask some family if they remember and keep you updated. So it happened around 2017 to 2018. I was in 8th grade and quite tall for my age 5'9". A house was for sale in my neighborhood and it was filled pretty quickly since I lived next to a school. Every day for a week, I saw someone stand in front of the house and I assumed it was just the new neighbor. But one day I got off the bus and started walking down the street. It was in winter Canada and there were like tents where you put your car so it doesn't snow on it. And obviously you can't see behind it. So when I was walking next to the one of the new neighbor, he was hidden behind it and just grabbed me by my arm and started trying to pull me inside. On quick reflexes I hit him the face with my keys and he then let go of me. I got into my house as quickly as possible and called the police. He never got caught and police patrolled my neighborhood for a week after that. Also he wasn't even the new neighbor. So do you, let's not meet again. Sorry, I'm not a native English speaker. Obligatory, not me, but my dad. When I was a little kid, my dad worked in a bookstore. It was in a mall, and that mall has since died, which is kinda sad. But at the time this story took place, they had a sale going on. At this store they also had a clearance section. What happened was, this male Kevin? Or K-Dad is D. So K takes a book from the clearance section and asks if he can get a sale discount of a clearance item. He then comes up to the counter and D rings him up. K, why is it so expensive? D, sorry? K, why is the book so expensive? D, the book is on clearance, sir, so it is cheaper than it would have been. K, but you have a sale going on, don't I get a discount because of that too? D, no sir, I'm afraid you can't get a sale discount on a clearance item. K, I want to speak to your manager. D, I'm sorry sir, the manager isn't in at the time. So then K proceeds to call the store customer service line right in front of my dad. This is pretty much where the story ends. K ended up getting a discount and paid only 20% of full price because of the discounts. DLDL, customer wants sale discount on a clearance item, then proceeds to call customer service in front of the cashier. Background, my house is at the head of a D intersection. Basically, there is a street that faces my house. My family had 3 cars, 2 normal cars and an older car that was a little more beat up, clear coat damage, not ugly but definitely not a jewel. Our driveway held 2 cars, so old car and normal car 1 shared the driveway and normal car 2 parked on the street. One day a new neighbor knocked on our door and demanded we moved our car because it was blocking the intersection. After refusing and saying that we had been parking there for a couple of years, they called the police and they basically sided with them. We were sure it was BS, but we had a solution. Compliance. New neighbors also had 3 cars. We took the old car and parked in smack in front of new neighbor's house, such that they couldn't park behind it because of the hydrant, and parking in front of the car blocked their own driveway. Of course they asked us to move it, which we refused. They ended up parking in front of their own driveway, which would result in a car shuffle if someone had to leave and their car wasn't out front. They eventually knocked on our door again and apologized. They had printed copy of local parking laws, basically showing that we could park in front of our house. Turns out it was a stressful moving and buying experience for them. We're cool now. Big edit. 1. Fixed where my family's car was when neighbor asked for it to be moved. Definitely a mistype. 2. The police weren't called in a 911 manner, more like a "hey, our neighbor is breaking minor law, can you come?" kind of manner. I work security for a gated community. 1 entrance, 1 exit. A car full of people pull up. Passenger: "Hey, we're on the list." Me: "What address?" P: "What do you mean address? We're on the list." M: "I need to know which list you're on to get you a pass." P: Clearly getting upset. "I don't have to give you an address. Just get us a pass." M: "I, in fact, do need an address. I can have you do a U-turn cause there are cars behind you." She finally gave the address. I still laugh to this day about it. Edit: I see how it was laid out and put spaces in between the lines. This should make it easier to read. Hey guys, long-time reader, first-time poster. I am not in tech support, just a general tech nerd who does some miscellaneous tech work around the office. Wanted to give back to the community for all the laughs. Okay. So this happened a little while ago. I got to the office, we are open with minimum stuff and social distancing etc., and I noticed a few people struggling with a printer. Pretty normal stuff, they usually figure it out or get the actual IT guy for help. With minimum staff, the IT guy was not in. So after a little while I pass by again, they ask for help. Turns out that a guy has been trying to print a document for a while now, but for some reason the printer just does not work. They tired opening the toner bay, adding a new toner etc. So we turned the printer on and was going to send a command to start the troubleshooting. The moment the printer was on, it started printing. The problem was very simple. Nobody thought to press the power button on the printer as it shut down due to inactivity. I honestly want to cry. I hurt his feelings and now my brother is mad at me. My sister-in-law passed away about 3 months ago, leaving my brother and his only child, 13 meters, alone. Since then, my nephew has been really affectionate towards his dad. He'll snuggle with him a lot and often holds his hand. We had a family gathering thing since Q-word, it's not allowed in most subs, is over in our town. It ended up lasting till really late and some of us stayed to watch a movie, them included. He sat partially in his dad's lap, with his head on his chest. Me, being stupid and not thinking, jokingly called him a baby. Everyone shot me the death glare and I realized what I'd said. I apologized so much. I feel really bad because I knew he was holding back tears. I ended up leaving before they started the movie, just to avoid awkwardness. I effed up so bad, I literally can't even express how bad I feel. DL, doctor, I made fun of my 13-year-old nephew's coping mechanisms. I used to work in collections for a U.S. auto finance company. Here's one that I haven't forgotten. Customer calls in and interrupts me during my greeting. Customer: So I was looking at my bill and I saw a late fee. I have been a customer of yours for many years and I am very disappointed in your company. Me: I'm sorry to hear that. In order to verify your account and assist you, may I have your account hash or the address on file? Customer does a long sigh. Customer: The last woman I spoke with didn't ask me so many questions. Me: I'm sorry for the inconvenience, but for account secu. Customer interrupts me. Customer: My account hash is /_________________________ My address is /__________________________________________ I was born on a rainy day. Is that all you need? Pauses. Me: Yes sir, let me pull up your account. Customer: I am not a sir, are you a ma'am? Pauses. Me: No ma'am. I'm so. Customer, no, you'll be hearing from my attorney. Customer hangs up. In all fairness, it was my first week on the floor and she had a really deep voice. Obligatory on mobile statement. This happened a few weeks ago, at the beginning of lockdown in the UK. In the shop I work in there's only 2 till/checkouts. This isn't often a problem as we never get very busy. Our shop remained open because we sell essential goods but we only had 1 till open at the time to ensure social distancing rules. My colleague was serving on the 1 till with another lady waiting, and I had come behind the counter to tell her something, and waste some time since it was quiet. I leave the till area to do some more restocking and the woman in the queue, of 1, pipes up, "Can I get served please?" Me, "Oh sorry, we only have 1 till open." Karen, "Well I thought since you were stood there you could have just served me." Me, "That till isn't open. I can't even turn it on." Karen, starts huffing about how ridiculous it was to have to wait. Me, already stopped listening at this point. Again, she was the only other person in the shop. The man in front was almost done being served anyway so she was being unbelievably impatient for no reason. This happened to me the other night and spooked me pretty good, especially with everything that's going on right now. I had spent most of the evening visiting my mom at her house, and at 2:30 a.m. left to go back to my place to get ready for work. I was due at 5 a.m. I was driving up a major state route that goes through the southeast side of the city we live in that also stretches for miles beyond the city limits. The roads were pretty much deserted, and the only other person out with me was a small black Chevy that was following me a little close. Enough for me to take notice, but not give it much thought, and I kept driving, lost in my own thoughts. We came up on an intersection where the road widens a bit, and when it did, the black Chevy changed lanes and picked up their speed in order to pass me, to which I thought, good riddance. Get off my bumper. But when we got to the next intersection that was shortly beyond this one, they were still driving beside me and keeping pace with my car. I looked over and saw 4 young guys, late teens to early 20s, all staring at me, and something in my gut told me to floor it once the light changed. I stomped on the gas when the light changed, but instead of leaving the Chevy in the dust, I was horrified to watch in my side mirror as they sped up as well and continued to match my speed. I didn't dare look them straight on, but at one point when they were still beside me, the guy in the front passenger seat opened his window and was shouting and waving something in his hand at me, which I saw out of the corner of my eye, and proceeded to freak out and pound the gas even harder. I called 911 as soon as our little chase started, and had to be transferred to 3 different police departments as they continued to keep pace with me and chase me through 3 different jurisdictions before I finally lost them at a traffic light further north. At one point before the dropped-off, they got behind me once again and started playing this little game where they would ride my bumper, drop their speed and fall behind, then speed back up to being on my bumper again. After they got stuck at the light, I floored it to put some distance in between us, then made a quick swerve into a side street in a dark neighborhood and got lost, winding my way through a few more neighborhoods and eventually ending back up in the jurisdiction of the 2nd police department I talked to that night. 2 officers agreed to come find me and I crouched in my little hiding spot with lights and car off, seat reclined so I could duck down. Once the officers showed up, I gave my statement and a description of the car, and the 2 officers agreed to follow me as far as the city limit before turning around. I made it home with no further issues and 2 out of the 3 police departments issued a bolo for the car. Be safe guys. It's crazy out there. As a longtime lurker of this sub, I wondered how long it would take to snag a good story as a first-time grocery store employee. Just 3 weeks in, today was the day. I worked behind the bakery counter at a grocery store. I had just started my shift and was chatting with a coworker when an older gentleman came up to the counter. The interaction went as follows. Me, is there anything I can help you with? Him, someone told me that if you ask the cashiers, they can give you foolproof vodka. Me, confused, okay. Him, they said you have to ask for it. Me, I'm not sure that's true, and even if it were, this is the bakery counter. We don't deal with alcohol over here. Him, well, the stuff you have out there is watered down. I want the good stuff. Me, general noises of apology. I just can't comprehend the logical leaps necessary to go to the bakery counter and genuinely think that we'd be able to give you alcohol. Why would we have alcohol that we didn't put on the sales floor and only had for people that asked for it? Why would the bakery have said alcohol, especially considering the liquor is clear across the store? I'm not even a cashier? We're a grocery store, dude. Go to a liquor store if you want something stronger. Edit, made my formatting nicer, we love being on mobile. Sorry, I was trying to type the last one on my tablet, and didn't have a lot of time. Same store, only thing different is it's not an old lady, but a lawyer dude, LD. Me, thank you calling grocery store pharmacy, my name is me, how may I help you? LD, yes, I've moved up here from Dallas, and I'd like to transfer a prescription from other pharmacy. Me pulling out transfer paper, what is the name of the prescription? LD, hydrocodone. Me, I'm sorry, sir, that is a Class 2 controlled substance, by law, we cannot transfer this prescription. Please call your doctor. LD, I'm a GD lawyer. The law does not say. Now, I'd just gotten my license, so, I knew that is exactly what the law says. Me, no, sir, that is what the law says. Please contact your doctor. LD, I'm going to sue your pharmacy. I'm a lawyer and know the law better than you. Me, let me transfer you to the pharmacist. I put him on hold and looked at the pharmacist, and told her exactly what was going on. I don't remember exactly what was said, but it ended with, I'm the pharmacist and I'm not putting my license on the line just so you can get your fix. She hung up the phone and next thing I knew she was laughing. She told the other pharmacist what happened and ended it with this. The funniest part is he was threatening someone who had no authority to help him. Okay, so I, 13F, have to take a walk every day BC. My mom makes me BC of lockdown. I used to take one of our 4 huskies, but after not waking up early enough my mom just said go walk by yourself. So for the past 5 weeks I have been walking to my local park, finding a bench and spending an hour on my phone before walking back and telling my mom how I have walked the length of the park. TBH, I do not have any regrets and I'm quite happy continuing. Just thought to share this story here BC. I think I'm going to burst and I don't trust my friends. Work security for a gated community. 1 entrance, 1 exit. A car full of people pull up. Passenger, hey, we're on the list. Me, what address? What do you mean address? We're on the list. I need to know which list you're on to get you a pass. Clearly getting upset. I don't have to give you an address. Just get us a pass. I, in fact, do need an address. I can have you do a U-turn cause there are cars behind you. She finally gave the address. I still laugh to this day about it. I've lost 30 kilograms from May 2016 to January 2017. On February 1, 2017, I was hospitalized to treat my OCD. I weighed 66 kilograms that day and I'm 159 centimeters tall, which means that I was still overweight and that's why I wanted to continue my diet, but they didn't allow me to. My therapist told me that I have to eat carbs, not that I already did, but low carb is not the right way of eating at their clinic. She said that if we'd met privately, she would encourage me to keep losing weight, but as a therapist, she has to represent the clinic's principles. At a place where people have to gain weight due to their eating disorders, no one is allowed to follow a diet. Instead, I had to follow the rules that they created only for me. All other patients who didn't suffer from an eating disorder were allowed to eat what and as much as they wanted. I was forced to eat carbs like buns and bread for breakfast and dinner, a huge amount of food in general for every meal, and I had to show my plate to an employee to let them see if it's full before eating and empty afterwards. In 8 weeks of therapy and special treatment, I've gained a total of 7 kilograms. I was happy to come home because I thought being discharged meant that I was free again and able to continue my diet. But oh, I was wrong. I began to think that the diet I followed was wrong, no matter which one it was. As a consequence, I was constantly searching for a diet plan, setting up new schedules and even ended up at myproana.com. I've done so many diets that I stopped counting them. From low carb to vegetarian, vegan, keto, and carnivore. And it's never good enough. Well, now here I am at my maximum weight of 98 kilograms. I don't have to eat any specific foods or a certain amount of them, but OCD doesn't allow me to start a diet and follow it until I reach my goal. There are good and bad dates, and obviously I'm not allowed to start at all when it's a bad date, but even the diets that started on the good dates had to end because of compulsive thoughts. The main one is, I'm not allowed to start a diet because it's not right. I will feel bad during weight loss and this feeling will only end if I gain back the weight that I lost. Becoming fat again is one of the worst, if not the worst thing that has ever happened to me. Through weight loss, I saw the raw, true and natural me. And now I've lost myself. The person I see in the mirror is not who I am. And this is worse than any number on the scale. I miss myself. I'm desperate to become me again. But I don't know how. Hello all, first time posting here. So, I work night audit for a relatively popular chain of hotels in the heart of the Midwest. We're about 5 minutes from my state's international airport, and there is nothing but cornfields, highways, and gas stations around us. That's what makes this tale so weird. Several days ago, around 6 a.m. myself and the security guy were just sitting around doing a whole lot of nothing. The pandemic has hit us pretty hard, so we've been really slow. There was one guest sitting in our lobby awaiting our airport shuttle. As the shuttle pulled up and the guest went to walk out of our front doors, they stopped, then looked back at me with a very puzzled look on their face. "Is everything all right, sir?" I called out to him from behind my desk. I think there's a lobster outside of your door," he said in utter confusion. It took a second for it to really register what he said. But once it did, I was very intrigued. Myself, the guest, our shuttle driver and the security guy all gathered around in a small circle. We were staying far enough apart to adhere to social distancing. Don't come at me, and looked down to see what appeared to be, well, a small dark lobster. Curious to see whether it was alive or not, it hadn't moved this entire time. I picked up a nearby stick and poked it. Immediately it whirled around and latched onto the stick with its pincers. Little guy had a lot of fight in him. After a minute or so, the guest and the driver both left for the airport. Myself and the security guard decided to take a closer look at him. Now, I've been to enough seafood restaurants and eaten enough Cajun food to know a crawdad when I see one. And that was definitely what he was. Only thing was, we could not figure out where in God's name this guy came from. Crawdads used to be easy to find in the area we're at, but once civilization came calling, it pretty much wiped them out. I haven't seen one in the wild anywhere within a 30-mile radius of us since I was a child. Despite this, the closest body of water to us is miles away. It's possible he could have been picked up by a bird or something and dropped here, but this guy was big. Hands down the biggest crawdad I've ever seen. And even if that had been the case, he should have shown some signs of damage on his shell, but he was perfectly healthy. It was a very strange encounter, but since I was getting off work within the hour, I didn't want anything bad to happen to little guy. So I picked him up and put him in a little box, and once I was off work delivered him to an area about an hour south where I know they can still rarely be found. So I am an avid MTB biker. I am a 15-year-old boy with long blonde hair. I will try to explain some of the jargon, but I'm sorry if I miss some. So I was on a road trip in NC and decided to stop in Boone to climb and bike a little. I did not have time to change into a jersey or new shorts and was wearing paints and a climbing t-shirt. I had just finished what would probably be my last run on the trails, so I decided to do the pump track/jump line. Now keep in mind I was not on a dirt jumper, a bike that is specific to jumping, but on a trail bike, a bike with front and back suspension as opposed to a dirt jumper with only a suspension fork, and looked like I just came from a hipster coffee shop or surfing in big swells. When I got to the pump track, I saw that some kids were riding. Kids can be annoying on trails sometimes but usually aren't stopping their riding. I went around to get the feel of the track, and diced to hit a couple of jumps. I started around but had to stop as I saw one of the kids playing on the landing and thought, oh, maybe he's gonna hit it and is just prepping for it, so I went around the jump and just rode around again. When I came back around, there were more kids playing on the jump. So I went over to the parents and asked if they could ask the kids to get off the jump, and one mom replied, "You can even hit the jump, cordial as ever." I responded with, "Wanna bet?" She told the kids to get off the jump and I hit the jump, pulling off a slick tabletop, look it up, and landed perfectly and rolled away with the most satisfied smirk. And that's the story of how I landed my first tabletop. Also sorry if the grammar looks like a 5-year-old wrote this. I have dyslexia, not jargon. The Mexican standoff of hospitality. You drop off the check, 4 hands whip credit cards out from their holsters, and everyone is insisting that they run this one-horse town. You're just a bumbling sheriff, and you could not give fewer flips, but now you're tasked with being the arbiter of this township's insipid conflict. What do? My friend is visiting from out of town, so take my card. It's incredibly disrespectful in my culture to let elders pay. Take mine. You can't let them pay, they just got out of surgery. The real ninjas are keen enough to track you away from the table and discreetly hand you their card. The real alpha move, though, is taking the full initiative when I'm at the table. Yeah, I'll have the grilled salmon, and here's my card, I'm taking care of the bill, put everything on here, no discussion, thank you. You're my favorite. Well, I used to work with someone who taught me one amazing method. Part of the reason it worked so well is because she's so charismatic, but when she'd reach check limbo, she'd immediately smile and go, "Who tips better?" And invariably, every time and without a hitch, one person's hand would triumphantly go up with Amy. Me. She'd grab the card and saunter off, and the whole table would keel over in laughter. She was a baller. So I thought this would fit in perfect here. In college I lived in a cooperative fraternity where we made our own food for lunch and supper, and they were served exactly at 12 and 6. Each meal consisted of a fruit, a vegetable, a main dish and a starch, depending on the main dish. Oftentimes people would show up a few minutes late depending on when their class ended and where it was in proximity to the house. One day one of my pledge brothers shows up a bit late and he gets his plate filled and is getting ready to eat. I ask if he wants the peaches. He responds, "Yes, I want all the peaches." What he meant was I want all those peaches, the 3 or 4 left in the serving dish, but what he said was all the peaches. So, 30 guys give him all the peaches. He got every peach in every serving dish plus whatever peaches were left on every person's plate. Picture a plate with a mound heaping 5 or 6 inches high, basically an entire 1-gallon can. To his credit, he ate all of them, but it wasn't a mistake he would make again. So this didn't exactly happen today, but it happened a few mixed martial arts lessons ago. I was fairly new, and we were learning how to take a punch. It was part of getting a new belt to be able to take a hit to the balls and not fall down. But I'm a woman, so I foolishly asked the instructor, "What about me? I can't get hit in the balls." He said, "Oh, it will be just as painful for you. Would you like me to demonstrate?" I was like, "Sure, whatever," and came up to the front. He said, "I'm going to give you a blow to the nether regions, and to the uterus, so tell me when you're ready." I said, "Go ahead," and he kicked me in between my legs, then hit me in the side of my stomach. I fell to the floor instantly. I actually started to cry. It felt like something in my stomach exploded. It was worse than the time I broke my arm, 100x worse. I literally peed my pants, and had to change. It was the most painful experience of my life. I basically had to lie down on the mat for the rest of the session. It was horrible, and I don't think I can ever laugh at a man getting hit in the balls again. TL, Doctor, I didn't think getting hit in the balls was that big of a deal as a woman. My martial arts instructor let me feel what it felt like, and it was the worst pain of my life. I work at a small-town coffee shop that has managed to adapt and stay busy during COVID-19 by utilizing a window for walk-up service. A regular problematic customer, let's call him TJ, is a typical middle-aged man riddled with toxic masculinity. He often makes female employees and customers uncomfortable with his comments. Lately he's been around a lot, being typical TJ. Today he came to our window and ordered a coffee. Cool, nothing out of the ordinary. A co-worker asked him if he would like to tip via our Square register. We normally don't verbally ask customers, but with the current pandemic we are not allowing customers to touch our iPad system. He proceeded to tell her to put 100, and reassured them he wanted to tip that much because he appreciates our hard work and effort and wants to chip in since our business has been a bit slower. Okay, I gave him that and almost have a change of heart about DJ. We both outwardly thank him and he goes on his way. I text my boss about this uncharacteristic interaction with TJ, and through their end of the register system she was able to look at the transaction. They noticed that not only was the credit card he used not in his name, but in his boss's name, on their company card. Typical TJ. What a D-bag. Long-time lurker, first-time poster. I am a teacher, who also has responsibility for our school's IT. We have a specialist teacher at our school, Miss T, whose method of expressing her opinion can be a little blunt. Monday was a public holiday for us, and on this day, Miss T emailed me asking for some help with an IT issue she is having. I saw it at the time, but didn't reply, as I needed to change some things at my end to make it all work for her. Tuesday rolls around, and around 8 a.m., I bump into Miss T on my way to the photocopier. She mentioned the email, and I told her that I had read it, but given Monday was a public holiday, I hadn't replied, but I was on it, and would make the changes when I had a chance. She thanked me, and that was the end of that. Wednesday rolls around, and at around 7:50 a.m., Miss T comes into the staff room where I am working. I greet her thusly. Me, good morning, Miss T. How are you? Miss T, sounding annoyed / oh, am I allowed to talk to you? Me, stares at her in surprise / Miss T, well, it is before 9 a.m., and since lessons don't start until then, I thought you might not be willing to talk to me so early, seeing as you don't work public holidays. Side note, At our school, teachers are expected to be at work at 8 a.m., and in our classrooms by 8:30 a.m. to greet students. Me, I'm sorry? Miss T sarcastically /O, no need to apologize. I just wanted to double check before engaging in conversation with you. I wouldn't want to offend you now, would I? Of course, I was completely surprised, so I took my work with me and left. That afternoon, I made the changes she required, and sent her an email to let her know. Well, I scheduled an email, which would arrive promptly at 9 a.m. the following morning. I would hate to have her think I was working outside of hours, would I? And #X200B. Epilogue: When Thursday rolled around, Miss T came and found me in the photocopier room, and offered a sorry, if /I offended you apology. When I told her I found it a little out of line, she told me I can be as offended as I like in that case, and wanted to know when I would finally get around to solving her problem. Miss T, if you won't take 2 minutes on a public holiday to answer my email, then when will you? Me, we had a discussion about this on Tuesday morning as soon as I saw you. It wasn't a matter of giving you information, it was a matter of making a change, which I couldn't do until I was at a computer. As it happens, I made the changes for you last night, and you will find a notification in your email inbox at 9 o'clock this morning, as that is when, at least according to you, I start work. I promptly left the room. A couple of weeks ago a customer found another customer's wallet in the parking lot. So we didn't open it but left in our safe for 2 days hoping they would come back. Eventually I opened it and found that the customer actually gets prescriptions from us, so I called, left a voicemail. 2 more days go by and try to call again. Eventually I was like, I throw it away by now, they would have replaced all cards and ID. I took it to my pharmacist, she realized there was $200 in cash in there, so she tried to reach her on the phone. No response. The customer actually had prescriptions in case, so we just left wallet with it. Eventually customer comes in, thanks us for finding her wallet, and grabs her scripts. The very next day I have customer complaint logged in our email from her saying why didn't we call her. I was like, idiot, we called 3 times and weeks went by, do you not check your VM? I was like, who does this? You get all your debit cards and a lot cash back not stolen, and you want to call and complain on us. What an idiot. Obligatory disclaimer, this happened many years ago now when I was a kid. When I was about 7 we went to visit a family friend for our summer holiday. My dad knew her from medical school. For some reason my dad thought I know an interesting age-appropriate piece of info to share with my young children. So told us he and this friend had been in the same anatomy group at med school and dissected a cadaver together. 7-year-old me was obviously struck by this fact and felt it was worth sharing. Fast forward to school starting up again and my teacher tells us to write about what we did in our holidays. I wrote, for my holidays I went to visit a lady my dad cut up a dead body with when he was younger. No context, just that. Then I carried on describing my trip. Fortunately, rather than immediately call the police and social services, my concerned teacher pulled me aside to ask me about what I had written, and I innocently explained it to her. She was very relieved and told my dad what I had written. He found it completely hilarious and told anyone who'd listen. I remember being really confused when all the grown-ups around me kept bursting into laughter about a perfectly accurate thing I had written. DL, Doctor, when writing about my summer holidays in school I inadvertently gave the impression we had gone to stay with an accomplice to a murder my dad committed in his youth. Okay, so this is my best friend's story from a while ago. I have her permission to share. Her gran had been very sick and mostly bedridden for a few months but had everything she needed around her, including a help buzzer in case anything happened, but she wanted to be as independent as possible and didn't want people fawning over her all the time. Anyway, winter was approaching, so they switched the electric blanket on to keep her warm and comfortable while she rested. Then, at some point, she died. They didn't figure it out for a while because the cat had been eating her food and she was warm to the touch because the blanket was still on. They only figured it out after a few days when they wanted to help her wash and she wouldn't wake up. The family laugh about it now because it's a pretty hysterical story they like to tell at parties. The doctor said it's a wonder she didn't start to smell more, what with being gently toasted in bed for days and all, but they all said she'd smelled funky for years. They just assumed it was old people smell. If it's any consolation, the doctor said she probably went very peacefully and comfortably. Rainbow. DL, Doctor, no one figured out Granny had died because the electric blanket they put on was keeping her body warm, so they assumed she was sleeping. First time posting, currently a EMS dispatcher for a private ambulance company for 3 years now. We take some calls, however, they're usually seizures, psych, and falls. This one? Probably should have been psych, but unfortunately she wasn't the patient. This call happened in my first year, while I was pretty fresh and didn't understand the power of controlling a call. And hashtag X200B. Me, okay, tell me exactly what happened. CLR, yeah, my mom fell in the other room, you know we have her locked in there right now, but yeah she fell and I think she may have hit her head. Me, okay, are you with her now? CLR, well, you see, she has dementia, and we live in a new home, so she is locked in there. You see, we can't have her wandering because of the bears that are around here. Me, have you gone to check on her yet? CLR, no, I can't unlock her door because she will get out and the bears will get her. Me, can you please go check on the patient? CLR, yeah, I think she might have hit her head, it sounded like she hit the end table, that's what woke me up, but even our big dog, insert large dog brand, is afraid to go outside because there are bears here at this new house. Please send the ambulance but make sure they get in and out quick because the bears will get them. Rinse and repeat for literally every one of the 10 questions involved with a fall. I was essentially working with a third-party caller as she flat out refused to unlock her mother from the room until the imps got there, let alone even go look at her. And hashtag X200B. I kid you not, I heard way more about these bears than I ever got out of her regarding her fallen mother. While I may have wanted to bash my head into the desk repeatedly asking her the questions, now I can have a good belly laugh over it. From what I do remember though, Mom was transported alright, and no EMTs were mauled by the darn bears. So, this just happened. I just finished doing my nightly cleaning and was resting my legs when a guest comes in. She had stayed for a little while and checked out, so she decided to check back in, booking through Crapedia. I ask for a card for incidentals, the card gets declined. She hands me 100 cash. We have been accepting 100 cash, since times are hard and we understand it's a little rough to get money on a card. This is the second time she's checked in with me. She knows you need a card for incidentals. I tell her that this is the last time I'm letting her use cash. I may have sounded a little exasperated, but that's just my tone at times. She starts telling me that I was rude and yelling at her. Her boyfriend hands me his card and it authorizes. I write it off as a she'll cool down type deal. Then, as she walks away, I hear it, ignorant idiot. I'd like to think I'm a pretty laid-back person at work. Calm, civil, not a fan of confrontation. I've let a few things slide or done things that I've been told not to do. Call me an ignorant idiot? No. That's the end of that. I tell her to leave the building. She says she won't leave until I give her a receipt. I tell her to leave or I call the cops. I hate getting police involved, but I can only tolerate so much. I'm having a little trouble working it out, confrontations aren't good for me. I was shaking real bad, and everyone starts getting loud. She keeps calling me ignorant and rude and an idiot. Here come the cops. I'm on the phone with Crapedia, so she talks first. She says that I started yelling at her and she's going to complain to my manager and other shenanigans. Cops need to get my side, so they wait until I'm done talking on the phone. I explain what happened and, fortunately for me, I've talked with these specific cops before, really nice guys. I talked with them during their rounds before. I tell them I had to talk with Crapedia before I could cancel anything. They talk with her, because she doesn't want anything to do with me anymore. I give her the receipt, which again, I know I'm not supposed to do, but whatever gets her out of the building. She looks like she's about to throw another fit, but here comes the cop explaining third-party booking. She's good. She leaves. I talk to the cops a little more, I let them grab a coffee, and they go on their way. I just told my GM that a guest has a complaint. Well, now I got a story to tell him when he comes in. They couldn't wait until my shift was over? I just wanted to get my work done while listening to Attack of the Clones. Damn it. Update. So, I told my managers and they agreed with what I did, and it turns out that the town that I work in told us to not take cash for incidentals. According to GM, the town has told us to make copies of IDs and not take cash for incidentals. The ID one, we do diligently as part of our CEA program, but yeah. We don't have to take cash for incidentals if we don't want it. Who would have thunk? Fred, a long-time nuisance who never listens to anything you tell him, calls. His computer is frozen, again. After some preliminary suggestions with nothing working, it's time to bite the bullet and force it down. Being in the COVID-19 crisis, rather than walk out to his PC on the factory floor, I advise him to do it himself and to press the power button. I couldn't ping it or get on remotely, so it was hung hard. Me, press the power button and release it. I already did that. Me, so I tell him to press and hold it. I already did that too. Me, I ask that he try it again, press and hold it in for 10 seconds. 2 whole seconds later he says see, that didn't work again. Me, but Fred, that was far short of 10 seconds, press and hold it and count 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, until you get to 10. That's stupid, I won't do that. So, we talk a few more seconds and I finally convince him try it. This time 5 seconds, I'm watching the clock go by. See, I told you it didn't work. Me, press it and hold it until I tell you to let go or when the screen goes dark. You really need to come out here and fix this. I again explained to Fred as I had the previous week about the COVID-19 policy and that the company really wants us to not wander around doing things that can be handled from our desk. Me, okay, once more, press it and hold it until I tell you to let go or when the screen goes dark. Okay, I have it pressed now. Exactly 7 seconds later he asks can I let go now? Me, no. Keep pressing it. I keep telling you, it won't shut down. Oh, something just happened. Me, did the screen go dark? Yes, now what? Me, let's wait a few seconds before pressing the power button again because they won't turn on again immediately, just wait until I tell. Now it won't turn on, the light flashed but went dark again. You really need to come out here. Me, just wait a few seconds, all the bits have to fall out of the processor before it will restart again. I use the old trope just to buy a few seconds. Me, okay, now try it. Okay, the light stayed on, the circle thing is spinning on the screen. I stayed with him till he got logged back in. A little conversation more to placate him on this just happens sometimes. I hopped on remotely and ran some diagnostic stuff and all was fine. That's 20 minutes of my life I'll never get back. Obligatory. This was a few years ago. When I was a kid, I taught myself how to fold an origami paper crane. I knew how to do other things, too, but the crane is the one thing I can still fold by heart. Well, one day I was bored at work and decided to fold a crane for each of my 3 co-workers in my department. The next day, my company president came in and noticed everyone had a crane at their desk and seemed genuinely curious about them. I told him I did them, was worried he would think I was wasting time, but he seemed more curious than concerned, and told him the brief story about how I taught myself when I was a kid and always remembered how to do it. A few weeks later he came back into my department and, without a word, dropped a stack of 50-20 bills on my desk. I slowly looked up at him questioningly, and he said, "Well, you're the one who does origami. I need each of these folded into a shirt." The idea being that we would send out an advertising mailer to 50 of our customers with the shirt attached and a line about buying them lunch. I had to first figure out how to do it and then it took me almost a week of folding, between doing my actual work, to get them all done. Doctor, folded paper cranes for my coworkers and was then forced to fold 50-20 bills into little shirts for a company ad. Hi. I recently started working at Walgreens as a tech. I've noticed a common issue where patients will come in and say that their doctor sent over a script via fax or voicemail and I just can't find it. I look in the profile to see if there's any scanned images, I look in the work queue, I sometimes ask the pharmacist if they're not busy. But some of these patients tell me they're in correspondence with their doctors and they're positive they sent it over. So it must be our fault. Is this true? Am I looking in the wrong areas on our system? Is it my responsibility to call their doctor? How do you usually respond to these patients who are adamant that we lost their script? Especially if the pharmacy is behind and there are a lot of F1s needed to complete? This happened earlier this morning. My husband and I are trying to teach our kids, his biologically, mine as a stepmom, responsibility and accountability. We've developed a reward system that awards them points for doing things on their own or without much help from us, cleaning, personal care, helping around the house, etc. Their biological mom lives off the government, and isn't teaching them how to be successful as adults on their own, so I felt it necessary to teach them some of the skills they need. One way they can earn points is by brushing their teeth twice a day without a reminder from me or my husband. Backtrack to last night, my husband has seasonal allergies, and when springtime comes around, he develops an itchy rash on his chest and arms. He asked me to rub some cortisone cream on his chest last night before we went to sleep in an effort to relieve some of the itching, so I grabbed the tube and smeared some of it on him. I capped it and threw it back on the bathroom counter when I was done in case he needed more this morning before work, and we both went to sleep. Jump to this morning, my youngest, he's 9, wakes up and rushes to the bathroom, beaming about how he's going to brush his teeth without our help. He comes back 10 minutes later to let me know he's done, and I add 10 points to his rewards chart. About an hour later, I take a break from work to use the bathroom, and find the cap of the cortisone cream open. Panic sets in. I run to his room and ask him to show me what he used to brush his teeth this morning. He walks to the bathroom and brings me the Goddard cortisone tube. TLDR, left a tube of cortisone cream on the bathroom counter and my son used it as toothpaste. On the third day of the ground war, the Iraqis continued to launch frog missiles at our perimeter. We, infantry battalion, were in a half-moon protecting a Marine helicopter assault unit. We could see the frog missiles as they launched. The base of the launch lit the ground in blue, which turned bright yellow as the projectile gained altitude. Finally it would disappear and we knew we had about 12 seconds before impact. On this third day my best friend Hal was enjoying a cup of hot cocoa with me in my fire team's hole. It began to get dark and we smoked our last cigarette together. He got up to leave and I got in the hole to rest. Someone yelled that they could see a launch, so I stood up to see if Hal was near his hole. He was nowhere to be seen. I yelled at him expecting him to poke his head up. Then the first missile made impact about 200 yards from our line. We could actually see my friend's silhouette from the blast. Somehow he managed to walk past his hole and into the tanglefoot wire we had out in front of us. We were all yelling at him as missile number 2 made impact. My heart was racing. Finally he managed to reach our hole and jumped in. His pants were ripped as well as his boots. He grabbed 2 cigarettes and smoked them both at the same time. He was such a great young man. The demons, unfortunately, got to him after he made it home. But that's war. I work for a retail clothing brand that also has credit cards, and today happens to be the day payments are due. So as usual, today was mostly returns to get limits down from people over shopping online during lockdown, and people making payments. Surprisingly, tonight we got closed right at 6 p.m. That's rare right now as no one respects that we're on restricted hours and close early every night. We get closed and I start talking to my closers about what needs to be done and anything they might need to know for their next shift, and someone starts pulling on the door and knocking about 10 after. At first we pay no mind until the pulling becomes more aggressive. I look up and give the classic "we're closed" motions with my hand and point to the giant sign with our new hours. This woman then keeps slamming her fists on the door and screaming for me to open the door. She has to make a payment right now. With her doing this, I can't let my workers leave in fear she will slip in the door. There is literally nothing I can do for her as I have shut down my registers for the night and we can't let anyone in when money is out during closing. It's a safety thing. So I look at her again and plainly say, "No, we are closed." She keeps banging on the door, yelling and calling us all stupid idiots for making her payment late, until I finally turn all the lights off and make everyone wait in the back until she drives away. I just can't stand the entitlement of people right now. I can't help you wait it until after 6 the night your card is due to try to come to the store and pay. Our website, Google, and the door plainly has our hours posted. You have 3 other ways to pay right now, and it was going to be late anyway. You do it after 5 p.m. Long-time lurker, first-time poster and on mobile. This happened like 7 years ago and I'm sorry if it's a little fuzzy and disjointed. It's because of severe PTSD from this and some other things. Also, if it doesn't fit the rules of the sub, I'll remove it. Back when I was in high school I started dating the friend of a friend. He had asked me out and I thought it was for a date and not to date, and after he went around telling everyone we knew I was young and I wasn't sure how to clarify the misunderstanding and just didn't. This guy had severe anger issues, like to the point of blacking out and wailing on whatever was closest, whether that be the wall he literally punched a hole through and showed off like a major accomplishment, or me. One day I was hanging out at his house with a bunch of our friends while they were drinking and getting high, and as the night went on I could tell he was getting to the point of blackout drunk, and I decided to walk home without telling anyone I was leaving. From his house to mine was maybe a 5 to 10 minute walk across town, and as I was walking home I kept feeling like someone was behind me following me, but every time I turned around there would be no one there. I get home and shortly after I get an angry call from my ex. He had hired his cousin to watch me to make sure I wasn't doing anything he didn't want me to be doing, and the cousin had seen me leaving the house and followed me home to make sure I wasn't going anywhere else. My ex's cousin continued to follow me and report on everything I was doing to my ex without me seeing him for the remainder of our relationship and a while after. So did the ex, who was so convinced I was cheating on him because he was abusive while he was cheating on me and the guy he hired to watch me, Let's not meet. Bartender at a local pizza joint. My buddy came in after a long day dealing with his two sick little girls. He tells me a story from today about the littlest. She's screaming for him from the bathroom. She states she's been waiting for 60 years for him. All she wanted was a cheese pizza from our place. Since they were sick, he went with something more appropriate for upset stomachs. But you can guarantee I got him a gift certificate for a cheese pizza for her when she's better. Nice to have good customers to even out the bad ones, lol. 10 years today, yesterday technically. My wife has always gone all out for our anniversaries. She spends hours getting all pretty and always knows what to give me. This year I completely forgot whilst my wife went all out. I can never live up to my wife's expectations, but this year I didn't get her a gift and I didn't make breakfast. I usually do every year. She was upset, to say the least. To make it up to her, I offered to buy her something big, whatever she wanted. My wife hates spending money, so it was a safe offer. 5 hours later and she hasn't told me what she wanted, so I assumed it was forgotten and went on with my day. I couldn't have been more wrong. Apparently my wife had spent all day shopping. So instead of breakfast I spent over £800 on clothes. So Tifu. DL, doctor forgot our anniversary, tried to make it up to wife and spent over £800 on clothes. Would have been cheaper to just have made breakfast. I worked in housekeeping in a hotel for months up until this past week. I'm now 35 weeks pregnant. I was scheduled to work 5+ days a week, with 20+ rooms to myself. I came into work recently, because I was on the schedule, and I could barely walk. I couldn't bend my back and my ankles were hugely swollen. I had been in L&D the night before to stop contractions. We didn't have many rooms, but 5 housekeepers in-house. Everyone was almost begging my manager to send me home, as we had too many housekeepers for the amount of rooms. Now, I'm huge at this point in pregnancy. I can't bend too far forward in general. My manager and I, discussed a couple weeks ago that she didn't want me cleaning bathtubs, so I was to have another housekeeper come clean my bathtubs. No biggie, I was fine with that. Well, the day before I quit I had went to find another HK to help with a bathtub. Said manager stopped us in the hall and asked what we were doing socializing on the clock. We explained that she was going to clean a bathtub for me and would go right back to her rooms. She yelled at me and said that if I can't do my job, I need to quit so that she can hire someone who's willing to work. I explained that it wasn't that I wasn't willing to work, rather that's one small task that I myself struggle with accomplishing. She didn't care. She continued yelling at me. Now, I've always hated being yelled at, so I spent the rest of my shift crying while cleaning my rooms. I got home from work, still crying. My boyfriend became extremely upset as I told him what had happened. We decided that it's in the best interest of our child that I just be done, as it's a lot of emotional trouble as well as physical. So I gave my manager her wish, and I went in and handed in my scrubs and quit. She seemed sympathetic, said she understood, was sad to see me go, and for me to come talk to her after I was released from maternity leave. Fast forward to today, another HK at said hotel was talking to this manager, while recording the conversation to send to me. She asked if I would be back after baby. The manager told her that I was Lizzie and a crybaby, so she would never consider hiring me back. I'm glad I quit. I feel like I dodged a bullet. I'm not sure that I'll ever be able to convince myself to work in housekeeping again. Hey guys, just wanted to share my recent experience. Work at a fairly busy Domino's that's been suffering from lack of tips. We recently got a new GM who's really trying to pump the store's numbers. He's pretty cool but at times can add to the stress. Anyway, Sunday is trudging by and by the end of the day I've made 25 deliveries with 65 in tips and about 30 in gas. Best day in a long while. Get cashed out while I'm barely awake. The night manager hands me my 70 and I thank her. Went out to my car, realized it was 70 and not 90+ and broke down crying. Either she messed up counting or I put a 20 in the wrong spot and didn't realize in time for a recount. Completely ruined my night, and when I wasn't upset over the 20 I was upset that I was worth so little. 20 made or broke my day. Anyway, the next morning rolls around and my boss asked how my day was, so I told him. He was super interested and told me to remind him at the end of the night. Lo and behold, after clocking me out, he looks at the previous day's payout and realized that the amount I made was pretty much only credit card payments and there was no way I didn't get cash tips, so he puts a 20 bonus tip on there and hands me my money. I thanked him for it, but I feel like he has no idea how much respect I have for him now as a boss. Anywho, just thought I'd put a story with a happy ending out here when times are tough. Anyone else have bosses they'd like to talk about? Good or bad, I want to see them all. And not in the good way frown. The whole entire time we've been laid off, we've been told that when we reopen they will be hiring people back in waves. This made sense because we have a very large serving staff and are now going from 62 tables to 21. We will be going from having 15 servers on the floor on a Saturday night to having 4. I am part of the at-risk population for COVID, and this whole time my managers have been reassuring me that I would be one of the last people to call and I could stay on unemployment until August. Well, today my manager called me and told me everyone would be coming back at once, and if I want to wait until August they will have to report me denying that job offer to unemployment and I will no longer get it. I'm probably looking at working 2 days a week, making close to no money, and dealing with the kinds of customers you'd expect to be rushing the doors right out of quarantine. I know I can file for underemployment if I don't make enough, but it is just extremely disappointing. Taking a break from serving has honestly done wonders for my mental health, and I just don't want to go back so soon. I literally had my eczema, which I have had for 24 years, clear up completely due to a reduction in stress and actually being able to take care of myself 24 hours a day. And to top it all off, I know there is no way my restaurant will be following proper safety procedures. I just don't see how it's feasible. At all. It's literally impossible for people to wear a mask when they eat. How am I supposed to be adequately protected? I'm scared. Maybe it's time to look for a new job. I am 14. I am a certified referee in my state. I know the rules as I've played by them my whole life along with taking the officiating classes. At our park district, no headers for ages below 11. But in U12, it is up to the referee's discretion. So if it's a small tap it's okay. That is exactly what happens. So the coach behind me screams at the top of his lungs there are no headers in U12 5 to 16 times. I ignore him. Though I could eject him. It was last game of the season and I didn't care. After a bit of yelling, he says fine, go duck yourself then, which I turn and tell at him for saying in front of you 11 kids. I wish I sent him away or ended the match. Sadly I didn't do much and my partner is a longtime referee, officiated my matches as I grew up, and he is deaf. So he has no idea what happened. The person who runs Park District in my area has been informed and is taking action. Obligatory. This happened a while back. My friend's girlfriend and I went to an open-air concert a couple of months ago, and everybody was dancing and enjoying themselves. As time passed, I suddenly saw a group of men move closer to us and start videotaping my friends and girlfriend dancing together. Now, where I live, men in particular happen to be more on the sexually depraved side. Women are harassed, stalked, and in some cases have their pictures taken for future use. I sighed and moved the group a little further from our initial spot, without calling them out so as to not create a scene. But I was ticked. They got the message and moved on to perv on another group. A couple of minutes later I saw another group of men orbiting our position, with one of them blatantly pointing their phone at my girl. I'd had it. My white knight complex kicked in and I went up to them fuming and asked them why TF they're taping her. Immediately they flipped the phone around and I'm faced with a man dressed in those wife beater tank tops, and in the corner I see my own shocked face looking back at me through the selfie camera. They were just video calling their friend. Embarrassed, I just say oh. And walk away. My girlfriend to this day thinks I protected her honor. TLDR, accused someone of videotaping my GF, they were just on video call with their friend. Hello. For those of you who have been working in the design industry for a while now, did you have trouble deciding what type of designer to be? With so many different design career paths to choose from, how did you make your decision? I just graduated with a bachelor's in design and am having trouble determining what design career path I should focus on. My degree was broad, with classes in design thinking, visual communication/graphic design, industrial/product design, and interaction/web design. I also took several classes in fashion design and studio art, printmaking, painting, sculpture. I had fun taking classes in so many different disciplines, but now that I've graduated and am looking for a job, I feel like I should have just chosen one thing and stuck with it. I've been working as a freelance graphic designer throughout college and also did multiple internships spread out among different types of art and design. I love all things design and feel like my dream job changes every month if not every week. My portfolio is lacking because I can't focus on one type of design and mastering its necessary skills. I live in a city with lots of tech companies, so most available positions are UI/U.X. Making apps and websites doesn't really appeal to me compared to other more hands-on design jobs, but it almost seems like the only option right now. I would like to move in the future but don't see it happening this year due to COVID-19. Should I focus my time on creating a solid UI portfolio right now and get a job doing that for the time being, even if it's not what I'm most passionate about? I feel like I could always develop other design skills while having a UI job if I want to switch careers and move in the future, when things are more stable. Thank you for your thoughts and stories about your own career path. I appreciate hearing from anyone who had a similar struggle choosing their career.